I have an exciting guest today. Her name is Mandy Bass, and she's considered the coach's coach. She runs Priority Living Systems, which is a training and coaching company that she founded in 1996. She works with entrepreneurs who want to gain the expert advantage and attract a sustainable flow of high value clients without spending a fortune on marketing. As an international speaker and scores of television and radio show appearances to her credit, Mandy is the inspirational force behind thousands of successful professionals. She has shared the stage with Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Greg Braden, and other world famous thought leaders. She's the creator of two innovative websites, mindtosucceed.com and freespeakerbureau.com, an online meeting resource for guest speakers and experts with over 4,000 members. Wow, welcome, Mandy, to our show.
Thank you so much, Gail. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're all about women in business here, and we're all about finding out everything that, makes our guests go into business for themselves. So that's my question number one for you. What made you go into business for yourself?
Well, to be totally honest with you, it wasn't really my decision. I was working for a company at the time. I was working in corporate America, and I was advocating on my client's behalf, and it was thought to be a little too aggressive. And I was fired from my job
You
on the
being aggressive, Mandy? I can't believe that.
on the grounds of insubordination. I thought it was pretty funny. So after being fired on the grounds of insubordination, I thought I better just work for myself. So that's what I did.
That's interesting because I have never worked for anybody else. Even at the age of 13, which is when I really started working, I always created my own job. The first thing that I did at 13 was to sell Avon Cosmetics door to door, knocking on doors. And it went all the way up until the time I graduated college. I did all four or five different things, but I always created my own job. So, and then of course I was in business at 21. So I admire that, and I think insubordination is good. So,
It's
so,
essential if you want to be in business for yourself.
so tell us a little bit about what you do.
So when my first job, my first business was actually in financial services. But what I do now is I work primarily with experts, I would say, coaches, advisors, other types of entrepreneurs who want to grow their business. I have a few what we call niche markets, and I try to help these clients grow their business without spending a lot of money or having to chase after people. Because as you know, Gail, I think for most businesses, at least most small businesses, their biggest challenge is marketing, is getting clients. And normally they're really good at providing the services that they offer, but getting clients is usually the big question that they have. And so that's the area that I help people in mostly.
And not only getting clients, but most people, especially people in small business or entrepreneurs, don't like to market. I mean, they love what
Right.
they do and they love their products or service and they're very good at it, but they don't like to market. But how did you get started in the coaching business?
Well, I was in financial services at the time when I was fired. And so the easiest thing for me to do was to start a financial services agency, an insurance and financial services agency. And I did really well in it, but my heart wasn't in it. I felt like I had a calling. I felt like I was being called to do something that had more of an impact on people and humanity. I wanted to make the world a better place. I was very idealistic in my goals and in my vision. And so I was thinking to myself, if I could do anything I wanted, what would it be? Because in the time I started coaching in 1996, coaching wasn't a profession like it is today. And I went and saw a big event, and Tony Robbins and a bunch of other, Dan Kennedy, and at the arena in Miami, and there were a lot of speakers over there, and I thought, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to be a coach. I want to be a success coach. And so I just basically made it up as I was going along. And that's how I got started, just by making it up. There was nobody there to really lay out a plan of how to go about it, or what to do, or how to charge, or anything like that. But I just muddled through, and here we are 20 years later.
Isn't it interesting? I was at one of those sessions, and of course I know Dan Kennedy very well, and so I went backstage to see him, and I called him, and I won't even go into the whole story that he told me about that day, but I will tell you that, you know, you hear so much about business plans and outlining this and going to a bank and getting finance and all of that, and you muddled through. So how long, you said 20 years, to get where you are now, but what would you say to our listeners who are already tired and frustrated in fighting this battle?
Well, I think it depends on where they are right now. Like if they're just getting started, or they've been in there a while. I think it's really important to have something that refocuses you on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis about why you're doing what you're doing. It's really easy to get so caught up into the minutia of day-to-day tasks and business and the things that have to get done, to lose your connection with what really inspires you. So I would say that you really need to get back into why is it that you're doing what you're doing? What is it that you want to accomplish? And then find a way to bring that forefront to your mind each and every day, and make sure that you've got something to inspire you. I use a lot of I meditate on a daily basis. I use visualization, and I try always to remember what it is. If I can just come back, I can have a reset point every day that brings me back to who I am and what I'm really doing here. It really helps to keep that energy up. And then the other thing I think that's really important is to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who are inspirational to you, people who are successful. A lot of times I see people in a certain industry or whatever, and they're hanging around with other people who are also struggling. And while that's fine to do, you do want to make sure that you surround yourself with people who inspire you and who are doing what you want to do, and keep yourself in a positive frame of mind.
Well, it is true. You know, it's true that, what is it? Jim Rohn said you're the example of the 5 people you hang around most.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's really true. But you also say there are 3 big mistakes that people make when they start out in business. What are some of those mistakes? What are they?
Okay, so the first one is the size of your goals. And I'm saying that the size of your goals because you need to have your goals need to be big enough to inspire you, but a lot of times, I think that what creates burnout and frustration for people is that they set totally unrealistic goals for themselves. And then when they don't make those goals, they get frustrated, they feel unworthy. And that sense of unworthiness, that sense of frustration just sort of feeds on it. It feeds on you, and it pulls you down. So I think it's important to make sure that while your goals need to be motivational, that you don't set such unrealistic expectations that you set yourself up for burnout. That would be the first mistake, is the size of the goals. The second is that when you go into business for yourself, you need to be, and again, this is about having a dose of reality. You need to be realistic about what your financial requirements are going to be, because typically people don't have enough money, and that's how they end up not they don't have enough money to actually do what they need to do. It doesn't mean to say you need to go get a loan, but you need to be realistic in how you spend money and how you manage money. So having an idea about that, I think is really important. So when I went into the coaching business, for example, I did have my insurance and financial services business, and I was able to sell that business and create an arrangement where I was still a consultant for that business, and I was going to have some set income coming in for the next year so that I could get my business off the ground. And you do need to make, depending on, of course, that you may be in a situation where you don't have to, you may not be the sole supporter in your family. I am. So it was really important for me to have enough of a cash flow to be able to sustain myself. And then the third thing is not having a mentor or somebody that can really guide you. I think it's really important when you start at any point in your business is to have somebody who doesn't have any ulterior motive, who's just looking out for your best interest, who you can speak to freely and who will give you honest feedback. If the only person you're speaking to about what you're doing is yourself, you're going to be in trouble. So
it's interesting because, you talk about mentors, and I had always thought when you had a mentor, you had a mentor. I've since learned that a person can have many mentors, which I really didn't realize before. I mean, I've heard people say, well, according to my mentor, John Doe, and then they'll da-da-da-da, and one of my mentors, Susie Smith, and so I began to realize that people have a lot of different kinds of mentors, which I really never thought about. I mean, when anybody says to me, who was your biggest mentor, I always say my mom, because she was. But it's amazing how many people have a lot of different mentors. And the other thing that I think is kind of interesting as well is that, in fact, I was reading something on a Facebook post today where a woman really is gung-ho to do whatever it is that she's doing, and her husband does not want to support her. And when I say support her, I don't mean in terms of money. He wants a wife that's home. He wants a wife who's making dinner. He wants a wife who's paying attention to the kids. He does not want a wife who has all these goals that you're talking about and sees herself in a much bigger light. And I honestly do not know how they're going to resolve it. It's not my business. It's just something that she's in a group I belong to. And I can't even imagine, because I had such a supportive husband. And whenever he did question anything, I mean, I just looked at him like he had four heads, and he knew better. He never challenged that. But of course, he also liked the money, that I brought in,
right,
and he could buy more toys with it. But that's another issue I think that a lot of women face.
Yeah, I think it's not only just, from a husband's perspective. I think in a lot of different ways. I mean, even your friends, your girlfriends, the people around you. Anytime you're going to make a change, a big change in your life, people are afraid of change, and they're afraid of how that may change you. And what if you become super successful and they're just the same? Or in some cases, people are afraid that you're going to fail or you're going to lose money. I think that, one of the things I wish that I had known early, or somebody had talked to me about earlier in my career, is understanding how important it is to know how to fail, to be able to get comfortable with failure, because it's going to happen. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in business for yourself. In life, things don't always turn out the way we want. And we have to get really good at learning how to fail, because it's learning how to fail that helps us learn those lessons so that we don't repeat them, so that we can succeed. And it's just not talked about very much.
Yeah,
but
that that is so true, Mandy, because I just read something this morning and it said that you really need to experience failure to experience success, and not